Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Blue Corner. It's been a long time. I'm just getting over a big, massive chest infection, so I've been on the shelf. But let's get right into it. Tonight we have the UFC 229 weigh-ins, the final stare down between McGregor and Khabib before they go to war tomorrow night, and what promises to be a great fight. Connor the Fencer, you've probably seen, if you're a devotee, you've probably seen the Robin Black breakdown of his open workout, where he was flashing all of his new moves for a wrestler coming in for a double leg, a jump knee to the head, a snap uppercut to the head on the right side, because he relies on the left hand straight. So he'll set up the right uppercut by putting the left hand out there like he usually does, but surprise him with the right. A lot of interesting stuff. All looks crisp. He looks great. He looks on weight. He looks strong. Khabib, on the other hand, or Khabib, if you will, looks flustered. He left the press conference yesterday after just Connor being 20 minutes late. You can tell he's going through a hard weight cut. We know he cuts down from 200 pounds. I believe as of a couple days ago, he was already at 173, so he should be on the mark tonight. So I suspect them to come in, Connor to be probably about 170, 175, Khabib closer to 185, 190 probably, depending on how much muscle and weight they can put back on in that 24 hours. But it just shows you how arbitrary the weight system is at this point, and that how one championship really has a smart idea of getting rid of it, this archaic idea of weight cutting that everyone just uses as a little sneak away that everyone's doing, so no one's really benefiting and everyone's getting hurt. The guys who come close to death and the poor souls who have died. But anyway, moving on, we've got the much ignored undercard of this fight. We got the Black Beast Derek Lewis taking on Alexander Drago Volkov. If your guys are listeners, I've been singing his praises since the Werdum knockout, that if he beat Werdum, who in my opinion was the pound for pound #1 heavyweight, even though Stipe had clipped him, I felt like that was a fluke and that Werdum could beat Stipe in a rematch. Volkov obviously can't get a title shot because of the DC Lesnar situation, that it won't be settled till they have a date, what'll be sometime beyond January of next year, so maybe February, maybe March. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Super Bowl fight, but that might be too early for the USADA testing pool to get it straight. We'll see. But anyway, Black Beast, Derek Lewis, we love him over at the Unknown Experts. The guy is just hilarious. He's just great on every level, funny guy, fun to watch. So it's a real pick your poison here. I mean, I love both guys' styles. I love guys' both personalities. But I feel like Volkov's got more tools, and I love the Black Beast, but his back has been locking up on him constantly in fights. So you just can't rely on his back to be healthy in there against a top caliber, if not #1, #2 contender in the weight division, because you would have to say maybe Jones is, with the rumors of him going to heavyweight, or Stipe being the former champions, and I'm one to say, okay, Volkov's #2. But still, Derek's a solid 5 versus a 2 or 1. Volkov should win this fight pretty easily, but don't be surprised if it's a big up. I know it sounds ridiculous to say don't be surprised if it's an upset, but if anyone can shock everyone, it's Lewis, and Volkov has a suspect chin. He's been knocked out before in Bellator. We got some old news we got to burn through. Fabricio Werdum suspended 2 years for PED violation. There was no question about the PEDs in question, since it turned out to be trenbolone, a through and through anabolic steroid that is banned across the board in all athletics. There's also the news of John Jones making a deal with USADA. He's being cleared to fight after October 28th. So because his suspension would be retroactive to the DC fight, so that'd be a year, and so we thought that'd be just in time for the Madison Square Garden card, but out of nowhere they've slapped Sijara Eubanks versus Shevchenko for the flyweight belt as the main event instead of Diaz, Poirier, or Jones Gustafsson. It's just ridiculous. Diaz Poirier 100% should be a 5-rounder. Otherwise, it's really just kind of an advantage to Poirier. Diaz is a slow burn point fighter at the end of the day, unless he gets you to the ground. Then he'll just get you out there real quick. But back to the main point, Werdum's out for 2 years. There's rumors that he's going to get a more lenient sentence. No, he was offered a more lenient sentence if he snitched on other people for USADA and said, fuck that, basically, is what I had heard from the Joe Rogan podcast. Whereas we have a lot of evidence that John Jones, on the other hand, did or will rat on some people to help with his cause as part of his deal to only have a 1-year suspension. His manager saying that no, that he'll just be snitching on himself, but that's redundant as hell because you're trying to say he's innocent. What would he be snitching about if he just took a wrong supplement? Either way, Werdum was made the same offer, turned it down. Avid anti-steroid fighter Mark Hunt didn't wait long to bring up the fact that Fabricio had popped. He said, quote, "I'm glad that Werdum got caught, that little bitch. Go back to the favelas. Fuck you, you little cunt. Good job. He was supposed to be here. But that's what you get for being weak. That's what you get, Fabricio, for being a weak-minded person. See you later." So it's safe to say that Hunt is still sore from Werdum stopping him in that one interim title fight a couple years back where he caught the jump knee that stopped Hunt in a fight that was pretty competitive up until that point. Whether Werdum was juiced then, now, or always the question that we have now. Rafael Covello will be taking on Lyoto Machida in Bellator Hawaii, their debut show in Hawaii in December, to welcome Machida to Bellator. We've got Rory McDonald coming off of, here's the situation. Rory's supposed to be fighting Gegard Mousasi for the middleweight title. He's already the welterweight champion. He's going to go into the welterweight tournament where we have confirmation that every round of the tournament, so every fight, will be a 5-rounder. That's good news. But now Rory just got demolished by Gegard Mousasi in the middleweight title fight. So now you have a guy coming off a loss, who's the champion at welterweight, entering the tournament against John Finch, who's no slouch either. So it was the worst thing that could have happened for their whole welterweight tournament, to have their champion beaten at a different weight beforehand. But either way, moving on. 2 fighters have missed weight for UFC Russia 20 hours beforehand. I told you guys this is old news, I'm sorry. But yeah, there was 2 guys who missed weight. Tasmanov by 5 pounds and Jinsu Su by 1 pound was fighting Peter Yan, who went on to beat him. It should be noted that both were late replacements at the time. Boxing news, this is, like I said, very old. You guys know that Mayweather and Pacquiao are trying to get another fight going. They announced it in Japan for some reason. Let's just get past that. Michael Chiesa is scheduled to take on Carlos Condit at welterweight. Chiesa is moving up to 170 at UFC 232 in December, the Nunes Cyborg New Year's Eve card. Joanna versus Valentina Shevchenko was going to be scheduled for the vacant flyweight belt on December 8th at UFC Toronto 231. The rivals, who had faced 3 times in Muay Thai, all of which Joanna had lost to Shevchenko. But now, out of nowhere, you have no-name Sirianna Eubanks, who has 1 UFC fight and a couple of, I believe, Ultimate Fighter appearances, headlining the MSG card. And this is nothing but bad news for all of them. I mean, that just sucks. I mean, she's something like 4-3 or something, and now even if she wins, she's going to hear nothing but shit about, oh, you don't deserve to be there. It's the worst possible thing the UFC could have done. All they needed to do, they didn't have to make a 165-pound division like Poirier and Diaz were trying to hustle them into doing. And how about that? At the press conference, you have Khabib mentioning it, and Dana saying, nope, it's not happening. And then Conor mentions it, and Dana says, oh, well, it could happen. So Conor might be trying to think of a way to win a 3rd belt just for the fuck of it, by having a new one invented. So, yeah, like I said, Joanna's out. Her response of which, when she heard the announcement that Shevchenko would be fighting Eubanks instead of her a whole month earlier than their scheduled fight for the vacant flyweight belt, was, what the fuck and who the fuck? Was essentially her response. I believe it was exactly what the fuck. Gotta love Joanna. Japanese MMA legend Norufim Kid Yamamoto passed away Monday night. When I was writing this down, it was 11:50 at night Eastern time, and it was confirmed at 1 a.m. He succumbed to a battle with cancer at 41 years old that he kept very personal, so much so that it was unclear which type of cancer took his life. Despite a run in the UFC where he went 0-3 with one no contest to an accidental eye poke in the second round, his biggest win was probably against Bibiano Fernandez in 2007, where he won by decision. Bibiano, who unlike Kidd did have some domestic wins, armbar win over Bellator mainstay Joe Warren, but he did not have the following that the loyal Japanese fan base had for Kid Yamamoto. His last win was May 29th, 2010, a first-round KO of Federico Lopez. Yamamoto leaves this world with an MMA record of 18-6 with 2 no contests. Rest in peace, kid. Brock Lesnar had surprised a lot of folks showing up on a WWE broadcast after his whole UFC return with DC. So a lot of people think it was in preparation for a big match in Saudi Arabia or something on November 2nd before he completely shifts his focus to MMA. So we'll have to wait and see what comes of that. Allegedly retired MMA fighter Johnny Hendricks, former UFC welterweight champion, has signed to fight Brendan Ward, former Bellator fighter who had just retired. They are both signed to fight in a bare-knuckle boxing match on November 9th at a new organization called BKB, Bare Knuckle Boxing, their first event, November 9th. Eric Anders replaced injured Jimmy Manuwa at UFC Sao Paulo, as you guys saw, and how that fight against him and Santos just barely made that card semi-interesting. Let's see. Oh yeah, the day after the Conor McGregor and Khabib New York press conference, McGregor signed a 6-fight deal, including it was initially reported as a 6-fight deal, but then later the word was that it may have been for 8. It's still unclear which is the truth. I believe it's 6 fights were reported, 8 figures in total. This includes the Khabib fight, so he would have 5 others. So it's not the case where we all suspected that he would be retiring with a win. He obviously has further plans in the sport, and he's gone as far as saying that he's not interested in fighting George St. Pierre at this time, but he would like a shot at Anderson Silva, which I know you're thinking, Anderson Silva at middleweight, coming off whatever suspension he's on now. Obviously, it's a case of he's a striker, and Conor thinks he's slow enough for him to catch him at this point. Be interesting to see what he could do at middleweight after he struggled so much at the Diaz semi-welterweight fight, the 168-pound catchweight, in the first time around, not being able to do anything but bludgeon Diaz, and then the second fight drop him 2 or 3 times. So it'd be interesting to see if he has any pop at middleweight, or if it's just too much weight for him to deal with. Anthony Rumble Johnson's not ruling out a potential UFC return. Come on, Rumble, come back and fight Jones. When Jones is back at heavyweight, Rumble Jones at heavyweight. Imagine that. That's something that gets me going and gets my partner in crime, Muka Knowles, going too. More than Katzengano in a swimsuit. Conor McGregor coach Kavanaugh, curious how Khabib would respond to losing a round to Conor. Not the best perspective from the coach, since they had the batshit idea to try to beat Floyd Mayweather on points instead of trying to use the natural punching power advantage. But we'll see if Conor somehow takes the first round, just clips him a couple times, drops him. How would Khabib respond to losing his first round of his career, at least domestically? Joanna, former champion, let's call her, because I still can't pronounce my Polish love's last name, urges Rose to do her homework before her potential title defense against Jessica Andrade. Andrade has been campaigning for a title shot after her TKO of Karolina Kowalski at UFC 228. She's aiming for a 232 strawweight title shot, but nothing has come of it yet. The Professional Fight League becomes the first big-scale MMA org to add a women's lightweight 155-pound division. The undefeated Tatiana Suarez, 7-0 in MMA, 4-0 in the UFC, should get the winner of Nina Ansoroff versus Claudia Gadelha, who clash at UFC 231 Toronto to set up a title eliminator at strawweight. But that's not just my opinion, folks. That's anyone who's in the know's opinion. Suarez looks like a champion in the making, and there's no one better than the winner of Ansoroff and Gadelha to test her undefeated medal at this point. After being the front row runner to fill the vacant UFC 230 main event, Tyron Woodley announced that he had to get hand surgery, swiftly killing his momentum and stock rise after initially saying he wanted a quick turnaround, the return in November, December, weeks, months after defending his title and shocking everyone by stopping Darren Till, like I told you he would. He's a Cardinals fan, so I'm not the biggest Woodley fan. Go Cubs, go! But at the end of the day, there was so much hype around Till, it didn't make any sense, and it was just gravy that Woodley put him away with a nice old fucking Darce choke or Bravo choke, depending on who you ask. So Woodley, including waiting 2 weeks before the surgery, will be out 10 to 12 weeks. It'll be 8 to 12 for the surgery, plus the 2 weeks before it. So at the earliest, if my math is right, it would be mid-December that he'd be back, which he might be able to make the New Year's card. I doubt it, especially with all the fights on it already. So we're probably, if he still wants a quick turnaround, it'd be January at the earliest, UFC 233, the Super Bowl card. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Karamu Usman has been made for the Ultimate Fighter finale, so that should make another welterweight contender other than Colby Covington, or it could just make a potential title eliminator, number one contender fight against Covington, even though Woodley had wanted Covington next, but with his surgery, we'll see what happens. Let's see, Gokhan Saki wants Mark Hunt, the New Zealander's final match. Hunt will retire after UFC Adelaide in South Australia, December 2nd, headlined by fellow heavyweights Junior Dos Santos and Tai Televusa. So Gokhan Saki really wants to have the honor of letting Mark Hunt check his jaw before they go out. Hunt would easily knock out Saki in that fight, so I'm all for it. Why not? Other than that, folks, are you psyched for 229? Ferguson Pettis, Black Beast versus Volkov, McGregor versus Khabib, Waterson versus Herrig. So many great fights. And then just a month later, we have the MSG card. So, in the comment sections, let me know if what your opinion are, who will win, who you got. McGregor, Khabib, you Dagestani and Russian, or are you Dublin Irish, or are you just American with heritage on either side, or are you just a fan, or are you just a dick rider? Who knows? Let us know. As always, this has been The Unknown Experts. I'm Mike. As always, this has been the Blue Corner, episode 20, celebrating 20 goes at it. Enjoy the fight tomorrow night. I'll get back at you guys with immediate reactions. Again, apologize for my voice. I'm getting over some serious sickness over here at the time of year where everyone gets the fucking flu. Peace out, folks, and keep on watching.